Welcome, everyone, to the Real Interrogation Room. I'm Lena Sisco, and today I am joined by my good friend and colleague, Rodney Smith. We are going to go through and do a detailed analysis of what we observe with the guy in the mask on the front door of Nancy Guthrie's house. So we actually were both on Newsmax last night, but we only had a fraction of a minute, maybe. It wasn't a lot of time to talk about it. And so we thought we'd come on because we have a lot more about the behavior, his walk, his gait, everything that goes around this individual in hopes that can help whoever is leading this investigation identify who it is. So we thought we'd come on and do a deep dive and tell you what we see, what we observe, what we don't see, all of that good stuff. Before we get into the analysis part, I'm going to have Rodney introduce himself to all of you. Rodney?
Yes. First and foremost, thank you, Lena, for having me on. I'm honored that you decided to have me on your show this afternoon. Uh, First and foremost, my name is Rodney Smith. I'm on the East Coast in North Carolina. I have over 23 years of law enforcement experience. I have been trained in body language, micro expressions, statement analysis, elicitation by the great Lena Sisco, as well as I am a polygraph examiner. I'm forward on my way to retiring in just within a couple of years and looking forward to doing a lot more in this realm and in this spectrum of body language and training of others.
Very cool. He's being very modest, by the way, with all of his attributes and skills. But anyway, I did want him to come on because Rodney has that law enforcement background. So he's going to look at this individual through a slightly different lens than I am. Even though I train law enforcement, he has that tactical experience. And it's going to be very important when we talk about that gun. And I know you're going to have a lot to say about that. So I thought that we would start by playing the video. You've probably seen it a million times, but I thought I'm going to share my screen for you all so you can watch a little bit of it. It comes from one of the news outlets, and then I'll stop it, and then Rodney and I will get into our analysis. So here we go.
Good evening. We do begin with that new video released just a short time ago. An armed person that the FBI is asking for your help in identifying tonight. You can see this individual right there on your screen on the doorstep of Nancy Guthrie's home. His face is covered, his hands are in black gloves, but ask yourself tonight if you recognize anything at all about this person's movements, maybe their clothes. Take it all in. These images were taken just before the 84-year-old grandmother disappeared in the early morning hours of February 1st.
I'm going to stop it there. Now, I know most of you are very familiar with this. It's a very sad case. I have parents around that age, and I would be absolutely devastated if they went missing. So I can only share my condolences for the family, and I can't imagine what you're going through. So hopefully, with our analysis today, we may be able to shed some light on the situation. So, Rodney, I'm going to kick it off to you first and ask you if you want to just start from the get-go as soon as we see him enter on screen, and then we could talk about everything that leads up to the final covering of that camera with flowers or foliage.
Yes. When I very first saw this video, the first thing I wanted to do is just watch it over and over and over again to see what stood out to me. And for this to be a kidnapping case, quite often we think of kidnapping, get in, get the package, extract and get out of there as
Yes.
quickly and expeditiously as possible. We don't see that with this individual. He is actually walking very, very slow and cautiously, might I add, because when he first walks up, we notice he's got a flashlight and he beams that light down at the ground. Well, if you're not really paying attention, there's a step there. He has to ensure that he takes that first step so that he doesn't stumble and hurt himself. Well, one might ask, is there some familiarity here? How did he know to shine a light in that area, whereas it's not just a regular straight driveway that led to the door? So that was one thing that caught my eye. And then we noticed his gait. I noticed that we've had individuals saying that this is possibly a male, this is possibly a female. When you look at this individual's build and their stature, the upright posture, and the way that they move, to me, unquestionably, this is a male.
Absolutely.
Uh, this individual looks very, very comfortable. They look very relaxed. They look as though they know time is on their side. Uh, at one point, when they walk up to the door initially at first, you don't even see the let me look over my shoulder and make sure no
Mhm.
one else is either following me or if I'm being accompanied by someone, where are you? Hey, are you
Yep.
where you're supposed to be in position? I'm about to move in. And that's from a tactical standpoint and a tactical advantage because before you make entry, you got to make sure that your team is in place or is anyone watching me? We don't see that behavior, and that's just from the very onset, before he even makes it to the door. We don't see any of those behaviors whatsoever.
I couldn't agree more. So, in the intelligence community, we always say operationally switched on, right?
Hmm.
For anybody in that realm. And I won't go further into it, but he is not operationally switched on. He's just casually walking up. So, for me to look at that, his gait is too slow. It's
Okay.
too calm. It's too casual, as though what you said before, he's very familiar with this
Hmm.
area. If you were operationally switched on and you had cased the place, number one, you're going to know there's a camera there and come prepared to cover it, right? I'm going to talk
Absolutely.
about that in a second, which really piques my interest. Number two, if you are coming up, you're going to make a pretty steadfast, deliberate entry into that portico. You're probably going to take cover around the portico. And then you're going to check your six, right? You're going to check all your surroundings before you expose yourself again to go to the front door.
Absolutely.
He doesn't do any of that. He just strolls up to the front door. And so that slow gait tells me there is nothing of urgency behind this guy. And the fact that he's not checking his surroundings, he only checks up to the street once. And that's
Hmm.
after he picks up the foliage. But we'll creep into that as we get along. So, right off from the start, I'm thinking this guy is way too casual. He's not worried about anything. He's definitely not a professional. He's not
Right.
trained to do this. And so, I'm thinking, all right, who is this guy and why is he here? So, I'll start with the camera and then I'm going to ask you what you thought. Obviously, he is expecting a camera to be there. He's
Hmm.
hunched over, hiding from the camera. And as he gets closer to the door, he even turns away. So he starts angling away for the camera. Well, here's the question I have. If you knew there was a camera there, why didn't you come prepared to cover it? Right? Did you
Absolutely.
know that it didn't work? Did you know that it wouldn't record? But then got to the door, saw the light, got taken off guard, and thought, oh, well, maybe as a precaution, I should cover it. That's what goes
Yes.
through my head. He assumed, he knew it was there, but he assumed it wouldn't matter. And how would he get that intel? That's the burning
Yes.
question I want. What are your thoughts?
Well, as you said, in piggybacking, walking back up, this individual walks up to the door almost like how I would come to my own door at the end of the evening whenever I've come home after being out at night. When I'm looking down for my keys, I'm not overly looking over my shoulder. So, like you said, he's not switched on. So when they walk up to the camera, what I'm thinking is, as they see it, I think it may have given them maybe the startle effect of, oh, I didn't realize this was here. Or maybe if the power had been cut off in the house as though they indicate, maybe the camera was working on some type of reserve or backup battery system. I know we have a ring camera here, and even if the power goes off, the ring camera still gives us alerts
Mhm.
temporarily, just because it's based off of a battery. So maybe the fact that he may have seen the camera system, it could have given some type of flash of a light, or maybe it startled him to the effect of, oh man, maybe I better just get rid of this just in case, because I just don't know. But it
Yeah.
gives the impression that because this person does not seem to be acting in conjunction with someone else with him.
Yep.
I believe that they thought because they had so much time, they just trying to take this camera out as a secondary precaution. Let me take this
Yes.
with me, just
Yes.
to be on the safe side.
It was an afterthought. He didn't prepare for
Yes.
this. Clearly, he wasn't
Yes.
prepared. And then I don't know if you noticed this, but of course, I watched it multiple times as well with that objective lens. And I thought to myself, how odd is it for him to cover the camera with his fist? You would
Right.
palm it, right? Like I would.
Correct.
If I wanted to cover something, I'm going to palm it to make sure it's all covered. He doesn't. He uses his fist. And then I saw it. He went to knock on the door. And right before he went like this, he did a move and he brought it over to the camera. And I was like, that's it. So now you know he didn't have a key. He had no way to get access
Right.
to this. He had to get someone to let him in, someone to open the door because he was just about to bang on it. And so then, of course, then he realized the camera is there, brings his fist over to cover it, and then just like, oh, nonchalantly, well, you can see all my face, but I have a mask and I'll go pick some flowers. It's just really bizarre.
Yes. Yes. Because this is an awkward position to try to conceal yourself. Even if I try to
Yes.
cover myself, not to hold my hand in this manner, just like you said, the average person, we always resort back to what we know best. We
Mhm.
even see it when the paparazzi goes to take photographs of celebrities. They give the
Yes.
palm. They turn and they shy away. We
Yes.
don't see that.
Mm-mm.
Uh,
No.
so this individual, like you said, they didn't come prepared because even in the movies or in real life, we see individuals they want to go up and they rip it straight off the wall, or they'll use
Yes.
spray paint and cover
Yes.
the lens on it. I
Yes.
don't think that this individual was prepared to deal with that door camera in the
No.
avenue or aspect that uh, they encountered at that particular time.
Rodney, let's talk about the gun. I want to jump on it, but I'm going to let you talk about that gun in the oddest place ever.
Yeah. So as they walked up, the first thing I thought was, "What is that?"
Hmm.
Because we most people we just don't carry things other than maybe like a fanny pack of some sort covering the center line of the waist. So as he gets closer into the camera view, we look and we see what appears to be a gun in a holster. Well, as a firearms instructor, I've taught a lot of people of how to properly carry a weapon, and what I would say about this individual is they are not trained in weapon
No,
safety and how to properly carry a gun, because
no.
any type of marksmanship, as far as pistols, we want to always carry the weapon on our dominant side.
Yep.
As I looked at this holster,
Yep.
I said, this is a really, really long holster. It for the arrow displacement, it was extremely long. And I said, well, looking at the butt end of the gun where the handle is, where your grip is, and the back strap, it appeared to be a semi-automatic,
Hmm.
which threw off because I said, for a handgun to be that long for the
Yeah.
holster, that's typically designed for a revolver, more like your
Yes.
357, your Colt Magnums, the
Yes.
longer style barrels. Matter of fact, if you even go online, you'll see most of your revolver handguns typically have a longer handle.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
but with this being a revolver style holster and he's carrying a semi-automatic weapon in there, I said this is automatically a mismatch. And the fact that
Hmm.
they're carrying it in the center of their waist tells me that this
Who does
person,
that?
yes, is
Yeah. No one.
definitely not good weapon safety,
No.
and it shows me that they're not probably skilled or proficient in using them.
No.
And we often see him even using his left hand a couple of times, touching it.
Yes.
Uh, but the way that the weapon was actually set up and designed was on his right hand side.
Yes. And so I liked how you said, because he goes to cover it and touch it as though, is it still there? Is it still there? You and
Yes,
I, you're the weapons expert, but I have a gun collection. I love to go shooting. And when I have my gun on my holster, I trust it's there. I know it's there. I don't have to keep
correct.
touching it. Like, is it there? Is it still there? No, it's there. I know it is. I know where my
Absolutely.
magazines are. I know everything because I'm comfortable with it. That just told me that he's probably never done this before, never had a gun in a
Yes.
holster and like, oh, let me keep checking if it's there, right? And
Yes.
who would put it right there? And the other thing is, you're creeping up. Well, he wasn't really creeping, he was kind of relaxing up to the door, but you have a gun in full exposure for anyone to see.
Right.
Anyone to see. Why would you do
Once
that?
again, no fear.
No fear. Too
There's no
familiar.
fear.
Yeah, he's too
Correct.
familiar and too comfortable. And of course, now we can look at this man. I want to assume he's right handed. He went to knock with the right hand. He covered the camera with the right hand, and the pistol grip was facing for a right hand grab. So
Correct.
my assumption is this individual is right handed.
Yes, I know oftentimes we've seen on probably social media where people reference this guy may be left-handed. Well, that
Mm,
may be there may be some truth to that, but one thing that I do know about a weapon, uh, you want it to be easily accessible
yes.
to be able to grab and get out of that holster when it's time to go to work.
Yes.
And aside from everything else, unless this guy is just completely illiterate when it comes to how to draw and holster a weapon,
Hmm.
I would strongly think, I mean, I have seen some shooters before where they are uh, more so ambidextrous or maybe right eye
Yep.
dominant, but
Yep.
they will
Yep.
always draw and shoot with the same hand, especially when it
Yep.
comes to a handgun as
Yep.
opposed to a rifle. So
Yeah.
just that setup alone tells me I'm leaning a lot more towards a right-handed individual,
Hmm.
even though some of the things that they did, showed a lot of familiarity with the left hand.
Hmm.
But yeah,
No,
when it
I'm
comes
with
to
you.
weapon setup, yeah,
Yeah, I'm definitely leaning right-handed. All right, let's let's move on. Let's talk about after he covers the camera and he goes to turn around to find the foliage. Now, I thought it was very odd when he went to bend down and pick up the foliage flowers. He didn't squat. He didn't fully bend. He stuck out his right leg as a stabilizer,
hmm
slightly bent the left, and leaned over ever so gently to pick up the flowers. My assumption is that backpack was too heavy for him to do anything else. And that's
right.
why that awkward kind of, oh, let me stabilize myself.
hmm
Right now, could he have a knee injury and he can't bend that right leg? That could be a possibility as well. What do you think?
Well, once again, as you notice, the backpack being heavy, another clue. He didn't come there with an empty backpack as
Nope.
you would expect an individual going in to rob a place to be able to put items in.
Hmm.
Why was it so protruded out from the back? Because he had actually something in there. Could have been
Yeah.
items to help tie this woman up or what have you. But the fact that when you do have weight on your back to be able to offset, well, when we think about the way the experts say the proper way to bend down and pick something up would be to
Yes.
squat.
Yes.
Well, obviously he's
So you
not
don't hurt
doing
your
that, but
back.
because he has that displacement of weight, then yes, that would make sense to put more weight on probably your strong leg and then kick out with the opposite leg to be able to
Yeah.
pick it up. And I've tried these maneuvers just watching the video and kind of mimicking and then saying
Oh,
to myself,
yeah.
how do I do this? And I do the exact
Yeah.
same thing, but because I'm left-handed, I actually lean forward more so on my right leg.
Interesting. Interesting. All right. And then, of course, he picks up the flowers, he goes and he
Mhm.
covers, and that's all we really have of the video. So let's talk about what we see in his face because you can clearly see
Yes,
those eyes, and I looked, and I'm like, is the ski mask covering a lot of his eyebrows or are they really manicured and thin? Which is odd,
right.
right? And then we see the
Yes,
fuller lips, we see the hair above and below. What else
correct.
can we like determine or analyze from that?
Well, as you notice that while he's got the light facing the camera and the
Yeah.
camera's looking back at him, we don't see a lot of fear in the eyes from any
No,
of the micro expressions. We don't even
no.
see an intense, like trying to
Mm,
concentrate.
nope.
We actually see a huge area of relax, and we can tell that because we don't see the eyelids, the hooding of the eyes.
So
But
good.
I saw the exact same thing. I said, you know what? This person has some really symmetrical eyebrows,
Yeah.
almost as though they had them waxed.
Yes.
And I've seen guys. in the area from time to time that will have their eyebrows manicured, and
Hmm.
they're really really clean cut.
Yep.
And I also noticed that the eyebrows, even with the mask, when we look at the bridge of the nose in the video,
Yeah.
those eyebrows come in pretty close. I said, man, this guy may even have a unibrow, but
Yeah.
just had the area filtered
You know,
out
you're
because
right.
most of your eyebrows will stop just as
Yeah.
the
Look.
eyes stop. Yeah.
Yeah. You're right. They did. They came in way past that to like right
Yes.
here. Interesting. Wow. All right. Anything else, Rodney? I know that CNN did release that the brand of the backpack is a Walmart brand. So they are looking
Mhm.
at that. You had mentioned something about a glove being found.
Yeah, they found the glove somewhere on the side of one of the highways. I think it was maybe last night or sometime this morning. I know they showed an investigator picking it up and putting it in an evidence bag and taking it
Wow.
away. So
Wow.
it's definitely getting more and more interesting as things go along. Uh, just from looking, obviously we couldn't see everything in color, but this individual, they did appear to be almost clean cut. The shoes didn't
Yes.
look cheap.
Yeah.
The
Yep.
the the pants, just the attire.
Yes.
This
Yeah.
individual looked like they were well taken care of. We're not looking at a typical what we might consider to be a homeless person doing some type of home
No.
invasion at a random house.
And you know that you bring up about the clean cut. He was wearing that sweatshirt, probably a shirt on underneath, which was tucked in, not left
Yes,
out. With the
absolutely
groomed eyebrows, with how he dressed, this person has a little bit a sense of a style, sense of his
correct.
appearance. Interesting. All right. Anything else about this video?
Not that I can think of right off the top of my head, that we haven't already covered, but
Yeah.
I think as we all have our own mannerisms,
Hmm.
someone would be able to look at this video and say, "That's Johnny. That's Ricky. He
Absolutely.
always bends over and he does that."
Yes.
We
Yeah.
we all have our common, I guess, what we call glitches that
Hmm.
we do every day, every single time. Even the fact when he walked to go get the brushes, he takes his time and he knows that
Yeah.
there's that step. He steps down again.
Yeah. And you know, I mentioned this last night with Greg. And so when he had that slow walk, I was always thinking, okay, it could be a couple of things. It could be that he does have a little fear. We have fear and anxiety, it could slow our pace down, right? Because we're like, oh, we don't want to get to the target that fast. For me, it's not that much. For me, it's he was just way too familiar and casual and
Right.
comfortable. But the other thing is too, he could have purposely slowed it down. Maybe he's a little clever to disguise his natural gait. Because as you know, we all have certain gaits. I could
That's
watch
correct.
a crowd of people and pick out my husband in a heartbeat because I know how
Absolutely.
he walks, even if it was from the back. So he could have just been very comfortable. He could have purposely tried to slow down the gait. But also, he could have known, hey, if I move too fast in this neighborhood at this hour, I'm going to stand
Right.
out. That's alerting behavior hits, right? We call it demeanor hits, especially in surveillance. And so, and you know that. And so, he could have been like, let me act as though I belong here and
Right.
slow the gate. I'm not alerting, and nobody can tell that it's my gate.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
agree wholeheartedly. It's Oh, and one other thing that I did notice that I saw in another thread online where people said from the light pattern that is displayed out there on the front porch, there was no blood splatter prior to. However, the blood splatter came
Oh,
after the
good.
fact. So, I think the biggest thing, obviously, we don't know at this point, is for an 84-year-old woman,
Mm,
more than likely she would have had to have left one of two ways, either at gunpoint and him walking her,
yep.
or possibly carrying her,
Yeah.
which either way, carrying a lot of weight on your shoulders for a long period of time is exhausting.
Yes.
And so,
Yeah.
and to expect an 84-year-old woman to get up and walk for a long period of time is
Yeah.
probably not going to be feasible for her either.
Mm-mm. No, and I think she did walk with a cane. You know, I just want to know what was in that backpack.
Oh,
Obviously, it was
yes.
supplies prepping for what he was about to do. Um, Which, then we go back to, though, we both agree that this is a totally untrained individual.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
Rodney, thank you so much for joining me. We'll have to
Thank you
do
for
this
having me.
more. And I hope you all enjoyed this episode of our deep dive into what we see and the behaviors that we analyzed. And we hope to see you back inside the real interrogation room soon. Take care.